On the 1st of May 1945, in the burning ruins of the governmental quarters in Berlin, the life of Hitler's chief propagandist and Minister of Public Enlightenment lay dead. There were different accounts of the death of Joseph Goebbels, but it cannot be denied how significant his demise was. He was one of two men who were given significant power by Hitler in his will, and he was made the Chancellor of Nazi Germany and the Third Reich after Hitler's death. He conducted one act in this role as Chancellor and dictated a letter to Soviet General Vasily Chuikov, and he ordered this to be sent under a white flag. In this letter, it told Chuikov of Hitler's death, and it requested a ceasefire, but this was rejected. Goebbels had considered his own end for some time, and he knew he would die inside of Berlin, alongside Hitler, and he made arrangements with his wife to end the life of his 6 children, who were also inside the bunker. But what is not as well known is the fact that Goebbels had 2 brothers, and they both had rather strange deaths and demises, and they were both locked up in custody due to the actions of their powerful brother and their own political beliefs and actions. But what happened with the deaths of the Goebbels brothers? Welcome to The Untold Past. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propaganda minister, had 2 brothers, Hans and Konrad. Joseph Goebbels was the most senior by a long way in the Nazi party, and he spent a lot of his time with Hitler, and his wife Magda was possibly Hitler's best friend, and they had a very close relationship. Hitler even gave marriage counselling to the couple after Joseph had affairs, and the Führer ordered his friend to end these. But Joseph Goebbels had been inside of the Führer bunker within Berlin for some weeks at the end of the war, and he witnessed the death of Hitler and the gunshots being heard from inside the study. Goebbels then became the Chancellor of Nazi Germany as mentioned, but this carried little weight and power as the war was virtually over, and there were differing accounts of his own death. The death of Joseph Goebbels certainly took place inside of the Reich Chancellery Garden alongside his wife. Their children had already been killed inside of their beds in the Führer bunker complex. Magda and Joseph exited the bunker at roughly 8:30 p.m. on the 1st of May 1945, and the situation was dire, and much of the Reich Chancellery Garden was in ruins and bomb craters were everywhere. One account of their deaths is that they both bit down on a cyanide ampule, and they did this close to where Hitler's body had been burned, and then a coup de grace gunshot to the head was given to the pair by an SS adjutant. Another account is that after consuming cyanide, an SS soldier opened up his weapon and fired several shots into the body of Joseph Goebbels, which did not move. After this, the corpse of Goebbels was burned, but only partially, as was his wife's, and they were identified and later exhumed by the Soviets days later. But what is not as well known is the fact that Joseph Goebbels had 2 brothers, both of whom had rather questionable deaths in the years after the Second World War. Hans Goebbels was the older brother of Joseph by 2 years, and he had a rather modest life. He was an insurance salesman and worked in fire insurance firms in Mönchengladbach, but in 1915 Hans Goebbels fought in the First World War, and he was captured by French forces. He was held as a prisoner of war, and he suffered from a severe kidney disease, and it was claimed that Hans left the conflict with hatred and fighting thoughts. But Hans Goebbels was also a Nazi, and he joined the party officially on the 1st of November 1929, and was member number 160,449. He was in May 1933 given leadership of the General Association of Insurance Employees, and he rose through different positions linked to insurance. He was given a large salary, and it was stated with regards to his career that the brothers of great men quickly make careers in the Third Reich. They do not need to be particularly capable. It is enough that they are brothers. The classic case, so to speak, is Mr. Hans Goebbels, the brother of the Minister of Propaganda. Before the establishment of the Third Reich, he was a simple insurance agent, but National Socialism had not yet ruled the German Reich for 2 years, when he was already receiving the handsome salary of General Director of Provincial Fire and Life Insurance Institutions of the Rhine province in Dusseldorf. Hans had many other powerful positions relating to insurance, and he was close with a number of powerful Nazi figures, and was also an SA Oberführer. But during World War II he remained working, but then at the end of the conflict he was captured by the United States Army. He had before the end of the conflict commissioned an SS officer to destroy the estate of his brother Joseph Goebbels to ensure any information relating to his crimes was destroyed. But he was a prisoner of war, and it was a coup for the Allies to have the brother of Joseph Goebbels in their custody. He was interrogated, but was then handed over to the French and was locked up inside of a prisoner of war camp in Katzenelnbogen, within the French-occupied zone of Germany. Hans was someone who was considered to have been a rather dissenting Nazi, and with this he was left inside the prisoner of war camp. But on the 13th of August 1947 he died from blood poisoning, and the cause of this is not known, but it could have related to the severe kidney disease that he sustained earlier during the First World War. Konrad Goebbels was the oldest of the Goebbels sons, and he was 4 years older than the Reich propaganda minister Joseph. He joined the Nazi Party on the 1st of December 1928 and was member number 106,286. He was, however, arrested during a Nazi meeting at some point after an associate of his had shot someone in the crowd. But then in October 1938, Konrad Goebbels was appointed to the Reich press leadership, and he was the head of the National Socialist Gauverlag for Hesse-Nassau, and he was a publishing director. He published a significant amount of Nazi propaganda, through his brother as well, and he was the press chief of Hesse. He remained in this job during the Second World War, but at the end, he was helped to hide out by a number of members of his family. Konrad Goebbels was trying to avoid capture by the Allies, and family members tried to raise money for food, and they actually tried to sell the dog of Joseph Goebbels, which was his favourite pet. But then they were discovered, and Konrad Goebbels was arrested in June 1945. He claimed to have said when he was arrested, "I am an admirer of my brother, as in Joseph Goebbels, and will remain a National Socialist until the end of my life." He was brought to trial, and 4 of his relatives received prison terms for helping to hide him and also their Nazi beliefs, but Konrad Goebbels was also brought to a denazification court. It was claimed that he had provided ideological support to the Nazis, and he was stated to have been an activist, and for this was sentenced to a period of 4 years forced labour, but he had been locked up for 2.5 years already. He tried to appeal his ruling, but he was then sentenced to 3 years in a labour camp, and he had 60% of all his assets taken away and confiscated. However, on the day after he was released from the prisoner of war camp, Konrad Goebbels suffered a very serious stroke, and he died from this on the 11th of June 1949 in Erlenbach, near to Darmstadt. The brothers of the Goebbels family all had demises and deaths which were affected by their status and ranks inside of Nazi Germany. Joseph Goebbels, the most senior Nazi of the family, died in the bombed-out ruins of the Reich Chancellery, and his brothers also experienced deaths following periods of imprisonment and incarceration linked to their actions within Hitler's Germany. They may have received harsher punishments due to their brother's high status inside the Third Reich, but their fate is lesser known when compared to that of Joseph Goebbels. Thanks for watching. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe, and once again, thank you so much for watching.